What is up, guys? Welcome into episode number 99 of the Loose Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Iván Hannaford. He is Daniel Hinkamp. An exciting time of the year because spring training has begun. The games, not quite yet. They are getting started here in just a few days, but players have reported. Practices for both pitchers and catchers and position players have begun. Listen, as much as I would love to be down in sunny Jupiter, Florida right now, I am not. I am in St. Louis, where I am not complaining about the low 50-degree weather that we got today, Daniel. I am thankful for that, but it is not Jupiter, Florida. So I had to get someone that is in Jupiter. We had to have someone that is in Jupiter, Florida, getting the sights, getting the sounds of spring training up to this point so far. And that is why in just a few minutes here, KMOX's very own Matt Pauley is going to be joining us. He is the pre- and post-game host for the Cardinals radio network. He is also the host of Sports Open Line, a co-host of Redbird Rush Hour and the Gas House King on KMOX. He's going to be joining us, sharing some of his early spring training takeaways as to, like I said, what he is seeing up to this point. There certainly has been some notable moments in the early going of camp. Yadier Molina's arrival, some position battles going on. Who is going to get the number 5 spot in the rotation? What is the catching situation going to look like this year? I think Matt Pauley is going to be able to shed some light on some different things that he is seeing and hearing in just a few minutes. So be sure to stick around. I'm a selfish host. Daniel, I'm waiting 2 minutes until we've started to say hello to you. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm great, Ethan. I'm really excited to be here and get to talk about Cardinals baseball because we're just a few days away. We got games starting up this upcoming weekend, and also really excited to talk to Matt Paulie, just someone that I've been able to and been very privileged to work around when I've been producing Cardinals games. I'm very excited to finally be back producing Cardinals games as well, and just seeing how the team does this year. And I'm doing great, Ethan. Thanks for having me here again. And how are you doing? I feel like nobody really asked you how you're doing.
You know what? I'm going to clip that and I'm going to send it to our Loose Sports Talk group chat because you are right. No one ever asks me how I'm doing. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. There is no complaints at this time of year except for I'm dealing with some back issues. All right. So that's the only thing that I got going that's pushing against me right now. But you know what? I'm willing to overcome those for Cardinals baseball. So no, it's a fun time of year. It's great to be having on Matt Paulie as well as all of the guests that we have on here on the Loose Sports Talk podcast. And it's great that you are joining us. We appreciate you guys being a part of this, whether you are watching on STL Sports Central's YouTube channel or if you are listening on the Loose Sports Talk Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you for being a part. Please follow, like, and subscribe. That means a ton to us when you're able to do that. And it provides good content for you guys throughout your week as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pause. That's enough of us. Matt Pauley joining on the other side. You're watching the Loose Sports Talk podcast. Welcome back into the Loose Sports Talk podcast on STL Sports Central. We appreciate you being a part of tonight's episode, and we also appreciate Matt Pauley for joining us. He is the Cardinals Radio Network pre- and post-game show host. He is also the host of Sports Open Line on KMOX, co-host of the Redbird Rush Hour, Gas House. I mean, basically, KMOX would burn to the ground without Matt Pauley. That's basically what we're looking at here. Matt, appreciate your time. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate that.
Okay, before we get going, I have a question for you. We've spent a lot of time together these last few years, whether it be at KMOX or at the ballpark, and I know that you're not one that tends to get a lot of sleep. So I have to ask: You've been down in spring training for what now? A week? A week?
Yes.
Okay.
Last Monday I got here, so 8 days now.
8 days. So I'm gonna set the line at 24 hours of sleep over the last 8 days, and I'm gonna hit the under. What am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's close. There was one day the Cardinals opened up the clubhouse at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. and I think I got 5 hours that night, so that might have just pushed it over to the over. but I'm generally a 2 to 4 hours per night sleep while I'm in Florida. It's a little bit of a grind, but you know what? They say you could be digging ditches, so it's a pretty good thing to be doing.
I think a lot of people think that all the spring training media go and they have the same schedule as the play. They're there at 7 a.m. or whatever, 8 o'clock, and then when the players all leave at 3, 4 o'clock, it's all right, off to the beach. And that is not the case, is what I'm hearing from you, Matt Paulie.
No, there's a lot going on, and I've got a lot going on because I have Sports Open Line goes until 9 p.m. Eastern. And Clubhouse opens up generally at 8 a.m. Eastern. So just in that sense, and there's other stuff that I have to do here. So I do think some of the other media members maybe get out a little bit more than me. I went to dinner. So every year, Mike Claiborne will take us out to dinner. We go to a hibachi place every year. So we've done that dinner. That's the one dinner I do every year of spring. And then the other night, Benjamin Hockman from the Post-Dispatch and I, we went out to dinner. And this is my 4th or 5th spring training. Other than the Claibs dinner, that is the second time in all my years of me going out to dinner with another human being, basically. I guess there was one year I went out with Tom Ackerman and some other folks. So third time.
No rest for the weary.
But that's all right. I'm not here to go to dinners. I'm here to cover spring training.
When you mentioned that there are certain guys that get to go and relax. Mike Claiborne was the first one that immediately came to mind. I know that man is just absolutely schmoozing in the sun as soon as those players leave.
Well, but he's there every morning. He shows up to the clubhouse every morning. He does what he needs to do. Yeah,
he has earned his time. He most certainly have. We absolutely love Claibs. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get into it, because there certainly is plenty to talk about. And listen, better than anyone that there has been loads of change that has occurred this offseason for the Cardinals, and that continued into the start of spring when finally the players, the staff, the media, the fans even got to see all of these renovations, these upgrades to the Roger Dean Stadium complex for the first time. Let me ask you, Matt, give a little bit of perspective to the people that have maybe seen a couple of pictures but aren't able to experience this themselves. Just how drastic of a difference is spring training from a facility upgrade perspective compared to what it has been in recent years?
It looks like a completely different complex. There were 2 new buildings that were completely built up. The Performance Center, which is where the weight room and all the medical stuff is. And this building is very, very impressive. There was another building that contains 6 hitting tunnels and a coach's area next to the hitting tunnels. They've got all the technology and everything you need. Then they added on to the existing building to create kind of a lunchroom cafeteria area where everybody eats. Previously, big leaguers and minor leaguers were separated out. That's not happening anymore. They all come together, both at the Performance Center and in the lunchroom area. And because they take the weight room and put it in the Performance Center, they take the eating area and put it in this area. Because they've cleared out some space in the previous building, they were essentially able to retrofit the building that was already in place, and it looks brand new. So it is, it's remarkable. It's impactful. There is information and data and technology that this organization now can provide to players and to staff that they did not have before. Like I mentioned earlier, the fact that major leaguers and minor leaguers are together, the team is hoping that facilitates and fosters more of an environment where some of these minor league guys get more time around big leaguers. It's just, and then the staff, I know you didn't ask about it, but the staffing is such a big deal where Ali told a story the other day. They were running a base running station. And at the base running station, they had John Jay, Pop Warner, and Daniel Descalso all in that area. In the past, they didn't have enough staff for there ever to be 3 coaches at one station. Wow. So the fact that they can have other coaches doing other things, other stations, those 3 guys were able to work on that. And then, in the past, it's just kind of a best practices when you're going through things like that. They now have enough staff that they basically did video scouts on every single one of their own players. So when they're running through a base running station, information has been given to all those coaches from the other individuals that have gone through video where they're basically able to personalize those drills to all of those players that are taking part in it. So the impact of what they've done, building out buildings and building out staff, I think I don't know when we're going to start seeing like the major fruits, but it's coming and it's going to be impactful for this organization.
Matt, you've been around and you've been able to interact with Oliver Marmol, Chaim Bloom, and plenty of the players this past week. What's the overall atmosphere like surrounding the team so far without the game starting up yet?
Yeah, a lot of positivity. There's a lot of buy-in is a word that's being used a lot. And Ali has said this is the most excited he has been to manage the Cardinals going into a season. When you think about Ali and when you think about his staff, there's a lot of guys who came up in the player development world, and they're going to be developing some young guys. There's not a lot of veterans on this team. I think there's a belief, and we'll see how it plays out. I think there's a belief that this team can be better than what the outside expectations say they're going to be. How much better? That's the question. I don't think we're looking at a 60-win team. I don't know if we're looking at an above 500 team. I don't know if we're looking at a playoff team, but I don't think we're looking at this like horribly ridiculous, terrible team like we saw in 2023. I don't think it's going to be that, but there just seems to be this overall sense of everybody's pulling in the same direction, and let's go prove people wrong. Now, once, March 26th is opening day? I think that's the right date. Mm-hmm. Once that happens and you start playing games that matter, you see what the record looks like and you see what adversity comes your way and if you're able to bust through that wall or not. But right now, very early on in spring training, there's a lot of optimism.
We're not even a week into camp yet, and we've already seen some very notable alumni appearances from specifically Yadier Molina, Ozzie Smith. Just real quick, who else have you seen? Have there been any other notable alumni up to this point in camp?
Those are the two main ones from outside who aren't full-time employed. I guess Yadi technically is, but you explain, you understand what I'm saying. But Jason Isringhausen is around because he's part of the organization, and it's really good to see him. And yeah, the other day I saw him kind of pull Tink Kentz off to the side, and they watched a live BP session together and just were talking through things. And I caught I wasn't like eavesdropping, but I would walk by and I would hear, a little bit here and a little bit there. And it was really cool to hear Izzy really giving in to Tink Kentz on, this is who you can be. And you when you've got stuff like this, you've got an opportunity to be dominant. And they were watching the live BP together, just kind of talking through what they were seeing. So I think that was one of those impactful moments. Ozzie is all over the place talking with guys. You'll see him with Mason. You'll see him with Thomas Sajaci. And then actually I had a video that kind of went viral, my version of viral, like 12,000 views, not up to the STL Sports Central, standard of going viral. But it was Yadi working with a handful of the catchers. And I posted 2 minutes of them going through things. So there's going to be more guys that come in. Adam Wainwright's going to come in at some point in time. Ali has said there might be a few other surprises. He really wants more and more alumni to come in. They want to make sure they do it the right way, where these interactions that are occurring, again, I'm going to use the word impactful a lot in this conversation, it seems like, but they want to make sure that it's just not willy-nilly. You're just dropping some dude into camp for a few days, where these guys can actually really come in and impact players throughout the organization.
Let's talk about Yadier Molina a little bit more. This is now, as you kind of teased a moment ago, it's his second stint as the special assistant to the president of baseball operations. But I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to feel that it's already different this time than it was the first time. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, 100%, because the last time he didn't show up, basically. And not only is he showing up, it sounds like he's going to show up a lot. So he's doing a week now. He's then going to go leave to manage the Puerto Rican WBC team. When the World Baseball Classic gets over, he's going to return to spring and finish out camp with the team. He's then expected to do a handful of series during the year where he'll kind of helicopter in, and then he's going to go visit the minor league affiliates throughout the year as well. So he has a very busy schedule for this upcoming year, and he's all in. We generally speaking, I mentioned the clubhouse opens up at 8:00 in the morning. Generally speaking, we're walking in at 8:00, and there is not a single catcher in the clubhouse because they're already out doing work with Yadi.
Matt, what kind of impact can Yadi's presence and intentionality have for a young team like the 2026 Cardinals?
Yeah, I don't know. It's nothing negative. I think it's only positive. I think sometimes we maybe overstate the impact, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of his impact at all. Like, I think it's a really, really good thing. But to sit here and say that this team is going to go win 15 more games because Yadi's spending time with them in spring training, I think that's a little bit overstated. But I think it's a two-way street. He's going to be able, in that video that I showed today, took today and posted, there were some small, like, nuance type things that he was really pointing out to the other catchers, specifically he was working on throws to bases, basically, like a throw to first base when you've got a left-hander in the box, or a throw to third when you've got a right-hander in the box, and making sure that you get that throw on. I think that's kind of what they were working on. And you could just see him going through some small nuance type things. And this organization right now, they have to excel in the margins. They have to find, the any given Sunday speech of, it's the inches here and the inches there. That's what's happening right now. They have to go grab every single inch of advantage that they can get in any way. And I think that's where a Molina really helps out, because if maybe that drill today results in, at some point in time, Joel Pozo or Pedro Paez or the guys who are in that group throwing out a runner at third, and you win a game that day, and it goes back to a technique that was talked about today. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility. So I think that's what we're talking about.
I want to keep diving into this catching situation that the Cardinals have, because it might be the thing going into the spring that intrigues me just about as much as anything, maybe the most. You have Iván Herrera, who is supposed to be getting a legitimate opportunity to catch consistently this season. You have Pedro Paez, who has proven to be an excellent game planner, works very well with pitchers, and this is a year where that's probably going to carry more value than it even has in previous seasons because of how young the staff is. And then you have Jimmy Crooks, who is a top, 7 organizational prospect, got a taste of the majors a little bit last year. And then, of course, you have the young studs in Rodriguez and Bernal that are, it won't be that long before they're, knocking on the door to be in the majors, I would assume. So specifically looking at the 3 guys that ended the year with the major league club last year, how do you expect Oli Marmol to navigate the usage of these 3 guys? Is it fair to say that they're all probably going to be on the opening day roster, or would you say that's up for grabs as well?
I think it's a little bit up for grabs. So the first thing they got to figure out is whether or not you can use Iván Herrera as a catcher. And if you can, how often do you want him back there? I don't think he becomes the everyday catcher for this team. His bat's just too important to have him out of the lineup as often as you need to be out of the lineup if you're a frontline catcher. So that's the first thing they got to figure out. He's still not 100% physically. The throwing is still coming along. He even worked with the outfielders a little bit. So I just think everything kind of trickles down from what is it going to look like when it comes to Iván Herrera. Paez is somebody who's been that guy. He's kind of been the lead catcher previously, especially when Herrera was injured last year. But I think this is a really important time for Jimmy Crooks. And the reason I said stuff's a little bit up in the air, I think Crooks still has to play his way onto the roster. You have Joel Pozo sitting there. In a perfect world, Pozo's probably at AAA. He can be a veteran guy to pair with Bernal at AAA. That's the perfect situation. But Crooks does need to play his way onto the roster. Assuming Crooks does, I think this is a really key season for him, because Bernal's at AAA. He's going to be here before you know it. Rodriguez could finish out the season at AA, and then all of a sudden he's not that far away. This is your window. This is, if we want to use a term from last year, this is your runway to find out what you have with Jimmy Crooks. So I don't want to see a situation where Crooks doesn't get a chance to play a lot at the major league level, because you just got to know what you have with him, because you're going to have so many decisions to make at the catching position with these various guys coming through, and you got to make sure that you have informed decisions to go along with it.
I know that there's only so much that you can take away from watching guys take batting practice and live at-bats, but has there been anything that you've seen going on the backfields that intrigued you or you felt was not noteworthy on top of the things that you've already shared with us?
It's very clear that the starting infield group, if everything unless somebody plays themselves out of a job, is Gorman at third, Wynn at short, Weatherholt at second, and Burleson at first. There was a day the other day where they were doing infield work and they were utilizing a lot of the fields, and the main field 2, where they do a lot of the main work, it was just those 4 guys on the infield, where all the other fields had multiple guys working in and out of positions. So that was very clearly a sign of that's what they want their starting infield group to be, which isn't a shocker. There's been some conspiracy theory Cardinal fans out there that think the Cardinals want to send JJ Weatherholt back to Memphis to start the season. They don't, and that's just another amount of proof. Now, Weatherholt has to have he can't be terrible this spring. If he is, then it creates a different situation. But assuming he doesn't play himself out of a job, and then the guy who's looked most impressive in batting practice, and it's batting practice. You're supposed to look good in batting practice. He's not getting low and away sliders thrown to him during batting practice. But I was watching Jordan Walker today during BP, and he looked great. He looked awesome. It sounded good. It looked good. He's done that before. Again, it's batting practice. And we'll see what it looks like when guys are actually trying to get him out. But if Walker's done a lot of work this offseason, if that work starts to pay out some dividends, he continues to be somebody that's got as high of a ceiling as anybody on this team.
Perhaps one of the biggest headlines that you could define success in for 2026 is, what does Jordan Walker do this year? Does he take that next step in his major league career that you could argue he's running out of time to do? I want to talk about another youngster that I think you could probably agree the most eyes are going to be on JJ Weatherholt this spring out of any other member of the Cardinals roster. We also know, and you probably know this better than anyone, Matt Paulie, because you do interact with the fans so much on on the post game shows. You hear the frustration more than anyone. There's a lot of people that are jaded out there because of the falling short, I guess you could say, of a lot of these top prospects that the Cardinals have had in previous year. Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Dylan Carlson, etc. Why is JJ Weatherholt different in your eyes? I know it's not a guarantee that he's going to be, rookie of the year, have an amazing season, but I guess the question which more should be, do you view him as different than those guys? And if so, why?
Yeah, 2 reasons. I do view it different, and 2 really important distinctions. First off, last year, Chaim Bloom started to put in place a lot of tools for player development that impacted minor league players. It's not a coincidence that Joshua Baez took the step forward that he took last year after it looked like his minor league career had kind of stalled out. He was able to take advantage of the tools that the Cardinals gave, and they're continuing to give more and more. So it is unfair to judge the current Cardinals player development on kind of the sins of the past, because it is a brand new player development system that's been installed by Chaim Bloom. Let this thing play out a little bit. If it doesn't work, if they continue to struggle in developing players, then criticism was warranted, but it's not warranted right now. That's the first thing. The second thing is Weatherholt just came in as somebody who was more advanced. He was a college guy, and his skills, like Jordan Walker is a really tall guy, and it's going to be hard for him to repeat his swing. Weatherholt's got a more compact swing. He's not a swing for the fences, home run kind of guy. He's not a big strikeout guy. A bunch of things that lead to players taking longer to develop. Weatherholt, that's not in his in his backpack. He's somebody who the type of hitter he is, it would indicate to you that is a more major league ready offensive profile, added to the fact that he came out as a more advanced hitter because he was coming out of college, where he also played high level college ball, played in the Big 12 conference. So we should not compare a JJ Weatherholt to some of the other guys that you mentioned.
Matt Paulie, we really appreciate your time. Excellent content as always. Can you remind the people where they can listen to you, where they can find you during the times, I guess, specifically on KMOX?
Yeah, absolutely. So here during this spring training, I'm all over the place, and I'm doing Gas House Gang on an everyday basis at noon. Redbird Rush Hours at 5. Sports Open Line is at 6 on Thursday nights. Mike Claiborne and myself do the countdown to opening day show on Twitter at Matt Paulie on air. I'm trying to bring as much spring training coverage as possible. Tons of videos being posted on an everyday basis. So check those out. But yeah, just listen to KMOX, listen to Cardinals radio, and we'll do the best job that we can to bring you Cardinals coverage every day.
He doesn't sleep, folks. He literally lives and breathes Cardinals baseball on KMOX. Matt Paulie, we appreciate the time. You enjoy that sunny Jupiter, Florida, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick pause, and when we return, more Cardinals coverage right here on the Loose Sports Talk podcast. Welcome back to the Loose Sports Talk podcast. Iván Hannaford, Daniel Hinkamp. A huge thank you to Matt Pauley for taking some time out of his busy evening to join us from Jupiter, Florida, where he has been able to take in the sights and the sounds of what is going on for the St. Louis Cardinals at spring training. And I tell you what, we've had on a lot of guests. That was one of the more entertaining interviews I think that I have partaken in, because he was able to, there's so much that you're seeing on social media, yes, but there's also so much that you miss. And it felt like he was able to put us there in the point of view of what he is witnessing, what he is seeing. So I really appreciate Matt Pauley for taking the time. And I would love, Daniel, to hear your thoughts on some of the notable things that you took from what Pauley was discussing. I personally think that hearing about the differences from last year, previous spring trainings to this year, when specifically looking at the change in facilities, the upgrades to the facilities, the atmosphere around the ball club, the excitement that the coaching staff has for this team, in large part because of their plus number of staff members, their ability to be able to work on the details, the finite details that in the past they haven't been able to do. I thought that as a Cardinals fan, that you look at 2026, there's not really a lot to be excited for in the traditional sense of, yeah, this team's going to win 90, 95 games this year. That's not going to happen. It's just, it sucks, but it's not. But I think that he gave a unique window as to things to be excited about, and that's what they're building.
Yeah, and what they're building is they're trying to get back to the Cardinal way that we all knew growing up and back in the early 2010s, late in the 2000s. And I mean, you have to start somewhere. That's one thing that I think a lot of people need to kind of take a step back for a second, and that's something that they didn't do in previous years. But I think that since we've seen the new Chaim era and the way he's done things so far, that people are starting to realize, okay, we have to sell off our good guys, and it sucks, but it's what's best for the future and the development of this team. And now you can get steady. The one thing that I thought that one player is really going to benefit from, Nolan Gorman, is just getting consistent playing time. And I feel like that's one of the things that's just plagued him in the past, is not getting consistent playing time. And that's a change that he'll see this year, and new faces in the middle infield. So like another prominent figure in the Cardinals organization, I'm excited for this year too.
You know, in speaking of some of that excitement, you know, no one has communicated their excitement more so than Ollie Marmol, and Matt Pauley talked about that a little bit as well, Daniel.
Yeah, and Ollie Marmol, in his words, this is the most excited he has been for a season so far, and I think that should tell you something, because he knows we're probably not going to be competing for a World Series title, might not even be competing for a playoff spot this year, but he's excited at the groundwork that they've laid, and he's excited of what's to come with this team, because there's, especially, and we talked about JJ Weatherholt, we didn't really discuss Liam Doyle, but just like the amount of prospects that this organization has now, and the future is so bright, and I think that's another thing to be excited for.
Having a manager and a president of baseball operations that are on the same page cannot be overvalued. It is so valuable, and we're finally seeing that. Marmol, not just being bought in on the process, but advocating for the direction in which they're going in. Bloom coming in, seeing the issues, pointing them out and saying, this is what we're going to change. It's going to be ugly for a couple of years, but if we want to get back to being who we were, this is what we have to do. And having them gelling so well together on the same page is, I think, a really good sign for the organization. And I think something that is going to end up having a very positive effect on this rebuild and getting St. Louis back to the destination in which they desire to have. One of the other things, Daniel, that I was intrigued by was the conversation around Iván Herrera and the catching situation specifically. You know, maybe this is on me, but earlier this offseason, I took comments about Iván Herrera as this guy is going to be the guy. He is going to get an ample amount of opportunity to catch in 2026. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but based off of Matt Pauley's comments and the trajectory of the spring is looking like, as well as some of Ollie Marmol's comments, it doesn't seem as though that is as surefire as I once did. They're going to give him a chance to really look at him and evaluate where he's at, but I don't think that Iván Herrera is going to end up catching 120 games. I just don't think that that's the direction in which they're going to head for him. And one of the reasons being because his bat is too valuable and the workload of catching 120 games is a lot, especially for a guy that's never caught that amount. This is a guy that had 2 stints on the injured list last year, and his bat was severely missed during those 2 stints. And that is even more severe this year because of the lack of offense that the Cardinals have. I know Nolan Arenado wasn't a huge offensive piece, but Wilson Contreras and Brendan Donovan were. And those are 2 bats that they are not going to have this year. Iván Herrera's bat is going to be very important when you're looking at this lineup for 2026. So it brings up an interesting conversation of if Iván Herrera doesn't end up being the guy, 1, how is he used? And 2, could we see that impact how the outfield looks for the Cardinals this year? Lars Nootbaar is not a guarantee. I would argue that it's very unlikely that he is ready to go for opening day after the Hagelin's deformity he had addressed via surgery this offseason and the recovery process from that. And as a result, we have seen several players that you probably wouldn't have otherwise expected to be getting reps in the outfield during spring training. Thomas Ajacey, who's traditionally been a utility infielder. Jose Fermin, who has played mostly second base, a little bit of shortstop. Blaze Jordan, who was listed as a corner infielder. Guys that you wouldn't expect to be getting reps in the outfield going into the year. It's not to say that these guys are guarantees to play anytime in the outfield this year, but they certainly seem to be getting a gauge as to if these guys have the ability to do so. 1, because we don't know who the starting left fielder is going to be on opening day. I know that Chaim Bloom said last week that they are leaving the door open and they still would like to add a right-handed bat, whether it be via free agency or trade. But I know it still could happen. Phil Maton got signed very late last spring. But the longer that it goes along, the less likely it seems that they're going to add a right-handed outfielder. So it makes you wonder if one of these guys could end up starting out there on opening day. And if Iván Herrera could be added in as at least an early season option to be playing some outfield without Lars Nootbaar there. You already have a couple of guys, really more so Jimmy Crooks than Pedro Pajes, but you have a prospect that has a very limited window as to when he's going to get opportunity with the Cardinals because of the, as of right now, better prospects that are chasing him and aren't that far away or won't be far away pretty soon. So you already have that going on at your catcher position. You could argue you have it going on with Blaze Jordan as well, a guy that the Cardinals acquired in the Steven Matz trade last year, was really struggling offensively in AAA following that trade, batted below 200 with the Cardinals or with the Memphis Redbirds. And then Jose Fermin, who, let's be honest, it was a very limited sample size last year, but in his time with the Cardinals last year, hit pretty well. He only had 60 at-bats, so very small sample size, but he batted 283, had an OPS, 6 ticks under 800 at 794. Went 17 for 60. Very small sample size, I know, but I think the Cardinals aren't willing to eliminate any options right now. And then Thomas Saggese as well, who I thought had looked much better as the season went along, batted around 250. I'm not saying any of these guys are guaranteed to be major league long-term starters if they give them the opportunity, but there are multiple guys that are kind of in that window that aren't even the notable ones like Nolan Gorman or Jordan Walker that are going to get their chances this year. There are other guys that you could argue are kind of fitting into that window of, okay, we need to see something now. Otherwise, eventually, the opportunity is going to be gone and someone else is going to come in with it. I wonder if left field is an opportunity for them in spring training, the Cardinals, to really observe and say, okay, who wants to take advantage of this chance? Maybe it ends up being a week. Maybe it ends up being 3. Maybe it ends up being 6. But you're looking at a chance for someone that you certainly didn't expect to get ample playing time at the beginning of the year to get that. So I'd be very intrigued if the Cardinals, based off what they see in spring training, would be willing to put Iván Herrera into that category of he could be an option in left field early in the year. He got a little bit of time out there in 2025 because it seemed like they were moving on from him as a catching option, at least in the temporary, because they wanted to keep him healthy. They knew how valuable his bat was to the lineup. Will Iván Herrera be an option in the outfield for opening day potentially, while simultaneously recognizing that they want to give him more opportunities behind the plate as a catcher? Very interesting subject. If the Cardinals don't end up signing a right-handed hitting outfielder, then how they address that in-house could be very interesting to keep up with as spring training goes along.
Yeah, and Ethan, one of the main reasons I think that we're having this discussion about left field is because of the injury woes that have plagued Lars Nootbaar lately. Because Chaim sat down a few days ago and kind of discussed his situation. He said Nootbaar, he's on track. He won't be there for the full squads, but that's not because of a setback. So he's saying that the reason he won't be there is not because his injury is holding him back. The reason he's not going to be there is so that they're able to keep him on track. He's for sure not going to be ready for the start of spring training, which I'm sure we all knew. But and a few days ago, Chaim said he's not sure yet if he'll be ready for opening day. It's not 100% that he will or won't be, but Chaim doesn't want to make that decision yet. And if I'm going to take an educated guess here from what I know, and as we were talking earlier, Ethan, he hasn't even swung a bat in the offseason. I'm going to lean towards that he's not going to be ready for opening day. So I'm really curious to see what happens with that left field position, and also with Iván Herrera behind the plate. I mean, I'm on the same page. I was on the same page that you were, or that you are. I thought for sure that Herrera was going to be coming in and he was going to take over that starting catching role after his surgery in the offseason and training in the offseason and leading into spring training. But if that's not a feasible option, he honestly didn't look bad during the season when he got a few of his reps out there. So it's good to know that he's an opportunity, or he's a person that you can slot in to left field in order to also save his bat from that workload that catching over 100 games would bring.
There certainly is a world in which Lars Nootbaar is your opening day left fielder. That could happen. And in fact, based on, I appreciate you bringing up Bloom's comments about Nootbaar. He's less behind than I thought that he was. I thought that it was going to take a little while, but the way in which Chaim Bloom spoke made you think that, he wasn't nearly as behind as you thought that he was. And the only reason that he's not at spring training right now is because the piece of machinery, the equipment that he is using right now to be able to run, it's a special kind of treadmill that is, I guess, less intensity on the heels. The Cardinals don't have that piece of equipment yet. They are adding it. It just has not been delivered yet. So he is in California still using that machine. It tells you, it tells me that he's a little bit closer than I initially thought that he was. And it'll be something interesting to track. We're talking about all these players. Could Thomas Ajayci, Jose Fermin, Blaze Jordan, Iván Herrera, could they be options to start in left field on opening day? Let alone Joshua Baez, who we didn't even mention, but certainly I think could be an option. Well, Lars Nootbaar is an option too. And if he is good to go, he's the clear front runner. It's just a matter of will he be good to go and how much opportunity will there be in left field if he's not. We'll have to wait and see. Spring training games, not far away, folks. Just a few days. First pitch, Saturday, February 21st. Cardinals, Nationals. Matthew Liberatore is getting the start for the Cardinals. Could that be a little bit of a teaser as to who is going to be starting on opening day for St. Louis? We'll just have to wait and see. Ollie Marmol has kept the cards close to the chest up to this point. So we're going to have to wait a little while on that one, but I certainly think that there is a good chance that that happens. Game will be broadcast on KMOX, 12:05. Speaking of KMOX, a huge thank you again to Matt Pauley for joining us. He's the man. Go follow him on X, at Matt Pauley on air. And be sure to check him out on KMOX. All kinds of excellent content. I cannot wait for Ollie Marmol to be joining the Gas House Gang once again weekly this season, because it was some of the best radio in St. Louis during the 2025 season. We appreciate all of you. Go and follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, at @LouSportsTalk_. Like and subscribe to STL Sports Central on YouTube. Follow them on all their pages. There is not a sports channel in St. Louis out there that puts out more content than STL Sports Central. This is the place to get all of your St. Louis sports content. And exciting stuff next week, episode number 100. So we have a giveaway that we are preparing to be putting out to the masses here pretty soon. Be sure to be following us on all of our social medias so that you can have your opportunity to win a nice little giveaway from the Lou Sports Talk podcast here pretty soon. Once again, we appreciate you all. He is Daniel Hinkamp. I am Iván Herrera. Episode number 99. That's a wrap.